Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Cardsphere.com as well as Moxfield.com. Today we're going to be playing with POW22 MTG's deck list, and I saw that they 5-0'd with it. I started talking with them about the deck list, and they graciously donated to have it appear on the channel. We're well acquainted with White Plume Adventurer as well as Seasoned Dungeoneer by now, and the impact that they are having on Legacy is astounding. And as people kind of explore and brew with these cards, we're going to see new ideas emerge. And that's kind of why we're playing with this deck list. Ellywick Tumblestrum is a legendary planeswalker that has a +1 ability that allows us to venture into the dungeon. Now, we have tried venturing into the dungeon before with, oh no, the 6-mana angel that you can cycle for 1 mana. Radiant Solar, there we go. And it was of medium power level, but what if we can just keep doing it every turn? That's kind of what we're going to hope to do here. So we are going to use Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch, as well as Ancient Tomb to accelerate into White Plume Adventurer and Seasoned Dungeoneer, and then we're going to use Ephemerate to blink those cards, as well as Ellywick to kind of keep venturing deeper into the dungeon. So while we are going to lose out on some of the raw speed of the mono-white builds or the red-white builds, we're going to have a little bit more wiggle room. We're going to have some other creatures that might eat early removal spells so that our initiative cards actually live for longer, and we're going to have a little bit of flexibility. Some of our lands will be able to cycle for cards. We're going to have Endurances game 1 to kind of help us out with the Delver matchup. And because we have more actual colored mana sources, we can afford to play things like Swords to Plowshares. We do still have some of the traditional Hatebear type cards that are going to be present in the deck in Anointed Peacekeeper and Elite Spellbinder as well. As far as the sideboard goes, it's very pointed. Like, if you take a look at this, almost all of these cards are for unfair matchups. The idea here being that we're kind of stacked versus fair stuff in game 1 with, like, Endurances, Swords to Plowshares, Ephemerates, and Ellywicks to really go over the top of fair stuff. So we want to patch up the unfair stuff in the post-sideboard games with all of our various combo hate cards. I'd say the spice of the sideboard is Absolute Law, which we can bring in against Delver decks so that our creatures are never going to die to the various, like, lightning bolt effects that we might be seeing there. Ultimately, I'm really excited to try this one out, and I don't think I have anything else to say here. Let's jump directly into some matches. Let's battle. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing for a lot more. If you're a regular, throw me a like before the video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Here we go. Let's take the initiative. Okay, I think I like this hand well enough to keep it. It's not a turbo initiative hand, at least not yet, but it could become one. Let's Once Upon a Time and kind of see where this hand is going. That's not an initiative card. So we're probably playing a hate bear or pseudo hate bear game this time around. Question is, do I want an endurance or do I want another land drop? If I get wastelanded, I want the other land drop. Otherwise, I don't really care. I think I'm just going to take the land drop and kind of play it on the safe side here, and then I don't have to fetch white immediately. Go ahead and do that. Maybe this was bad. If I play the Boseiju this turn and Noble Hierarch eats like a lightning bolt, I can't actually play a 1 white card off Ancient Tomb. So I believe objectively that was a mistake. I think you take the Boseiju, but then you don't use it there. Ooh, Ephemerate is cool. Yeah, I'm potentially going to get a little bit punished by not holding up this Ephemerate this turn because of how I played my land drops last turn. I guess that just means I'm fetching here instead. I can get a basic to play around Blood Moon, shutting off most of my hand. Maybe I didn't actually make a mistake. Against Basic Mountain, I think I'll play Elite Spellbinder here over Anointed Peacekeeper, although I think Anointed Peacekeeper is probably going to be the better play in a vacuum most of the time. I think this card is objectively stronger than Elite Spellbinder. Okay. 2 more to cast? So taking a Fury isn't exactly good, huh? That's very awkward. That's very awkward. Do I just take Simian Spirit Guide to slow my opponent down, probably? Probably. That's very awkward for me. So that means that they can't do something like Fury me and play a 3-drop this turn. And they are going to Chalice me and Fury. That's fine. Not like the Ephemerate is disgusting here anyway. Yeah. Fury pitch Rabble Master over Fury pitch Blood Moon. That's fine. Oh, White Plume Adventurer is very strong if my opponent is going to keep their lock pieces in hand, so I am relatively happy with this. White Plume Adventurer also gets me another basic land here. Is kind of a big deal. Do I want a basic forest in the face of Blood Moon? I have one white card. I think I will take the basic forest. I'm going to have an Ephemerate in hand basically all game that I can pitch to a Solitude if I draw one. Yeah, my opponent would be in better shape if they kept a Rabble Master, I think. That at least gives them a tool to take back the initiative. Although maybe... Woohoo! Alright, so I lose my creature. So this probably means that I'm going to go up the right side instead. Let's scry. Canopy can go to the bottom. Seasoned Dungeoneer is an above average draw for sure. Opponent has one unknown card in hand. I don't care about Trinisphere. My opponent top decks a Soul Land. They still can't hit me with Den. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and play Seasoned Dungeoneer this turn and take 2 damage. Okay, they're done with me. I don't think I played that game perfectly. I think I made some errors. I also think my opponent made some errors. I think that Goblin Rabble Master that they pitched was good. This is just pro-red, right? All... okay. What's not good here? I essentially just want a pile of creatures and removal. I think this is slow and mana pip intensive, so I think this is not the matchup for Ellywick. So the question from there is, do I want to play Collector Oof as a 2/2 that can trade with early things like Goblin Rabble Master? Like, is that better than some of these hate bears? Is that better than Endurance, which has green pips? Unsure. It might be. Like, the Elite Spellbinders and Anointed Peacekeepers are a little slow on the draw, and Endurance, while strong, is mana pip intensive. I could also just get rid of Ephemerate. Like, my opponent is on the play, they can Chalice me. I think on the play, when my opponent is on the play, I will play these Collector Oofs to fill out my deck list. This is a totally reasonable hand. I'm happy enough keeping this. The Once Upon a Time probably can find me either another basic land or an initiative card so that this hand actually looks strong. Suppose I'm most afraid of like a turn 1 Blood Moon. Turn 1 Chalice. That's fine. There's a Solitude. Take a look at what we can do with Once Upon a Time. Bird, Endurance, White Plume. Probably most interested in the White Plume here. I really wanted another land drop, but I suppose that's fine. I'm going to play basic planes and pass to incentivize my opponent not to Blood Moon me. They have something else that they can do. That is a Rabble Master. So I am willing to Solitude that here. I think I Solitude pitching a Solitude. I think I want to keep this as my way to kind of take over this game. Like, Collector Oof is a nice card in the interim. I think I'm supposed to play Collector Oof this turn over Once Upon a Time. Like, Once Upon a Time smooths me out a whole lot, but if I drop a Collector Oof into play here, my opponent can't use cards like a Lotus Petal or a Chrome Box to hit their next red source to continue deploying the cards in their hand. Yeah, there's an Ancient Tomb. That's not the land drop my opponent is looking for. I will give them a big oof. Drop them to 16. Let's filter lands with Once Upon a Time. Okay, I did find one. Found a Razorverge Thicket. So we'll go ahead and play that and call it a turn. And with double White Plume Adventurer and Endurance in hand, life's going to be a little tough for my opponent, especially if they miss a land drop this turn. Okay, they did hit a creature. which is great for them. Like, that's very good. That means they can attempt to fight over the initiative. Although I don't think I play White Plume Adventurer this turn because of Fury. I think I just play Endurance in this turn cycle, mop up the Goblin tokens with that, and then be more comfortable playing White Plume afterwards. I don't want to be hasty here when I feel like I have this game more or less locked up in terms of resources. So make your creature, back on in. Alright, just the tokens coming in. I'll send in Endurance. Don't need to nuke any graveyards here. Well, I guess I could have nuked my own to better play around Unlicensed Hearse. That's a card that my opponent brought in. Okay, there is the Fury that I was playing around. We'll do some tradesies here. And then I can decide how I want to play this next turn. Now that, yeah, I think I'm comfortable doing this now. I've given my opponent a chance to use a Fury, and they pitched another Fury, so that's relatively unlikely to happen again. I will take the basic green source here. I'll throw that into play, call it a turn. Now my opponent can take the initiative from me this turn, but I can take it right back, and I can probably hold it better than they can. So I think I just go ahead and block here and don't trade with Rabblemaster. So my opponent will get a basic land. If they were to have a third Fury, they can get the red mana to do it. And that's one of those things that I just kind of have to accept. It is a third Fury. That is super inconvenient for me. Alright, multiple creatures here is nice, though. I will play a white Plume, take the initiative, at which point I forge my creature, and I end up with the largest thing on the battlefield. And then I can go ahead and deploy a Collector Oof as the follow-up. My opponent is in a very dangerous position in that if they tap Ancient Tomb one more time, any initiative creature will become lethal from trap. Combat's kind of tricky. Alright, my opponent makes their Goblin. They're attacking in with two creatures. I can trade White Plume for Fury, unless my opponent has something like a Dead Gone or Bone Crusher Giant. Probably fine. Alright, so we trade 1 for 1. I keep Collector Oof back. My opponent has to trade Goblin Rabblemaster for it, as I am about to trap them. And now Ancient Tomb is no longer tappable. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Alright. I mean, I'm fine winning a game that way. Good sideboard cards are good. Get 'em. Absolutely fucking get 'em. Today's video is sponsored by Cardsphere.com. Cardsphere is a service that allows you to buy, sell, and most importantly, trade your Magic cards with other people and game stores from around the world. As you can see here, they are doing a lot of business. They only take a very small fee, 3%, and if you decide you want cash instead of cards, you can also get paid out via PayPal for a small cut. P.S. They also have articles, so please consider checking them out. Alright, this hand has no mana. It is an auto mulligan. We'll probably keep this over going to 5. This is not one of those exciting hands. This is just going to be some good, honest Magic. The question is, do I throw back second Noble Hierarch or Endurance? I think I throw, or land. I think I throw back land here. So I guaranteed have a good turn 1 play and a turn 2 play if Noble Hierarch gets Lightning Bolted or equivalent. Let's see where this game goes. Mountain Pass. So I'm probably interested in dropping an Endurance this turn. That makes it slightly more appealing to just play Noble Hierarch and guaranteed be able to play an initiative card next turn. So I think I'm going to do that. So second Hierarch. Start putting the pressure on my opponent. This will be bad against Fury in particular, otherwise it'll be pretty strong. Opponent's at 18. Not vulnerable to Blood Moon. I've got Swords to Plowshares for something like a Goblin Rabblemaster. My opponent's dropping a Chrome Mox here. May mean Caves of Chaos Adventurer? Under there. Outer Skull Smashing. The what now? Resolves? Just a little surprised, honestly. I think I'm interested in having a pile of basics here. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively grab a basic land. Let's cast a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Grab the initiative, use it to grab another basic plains so that I'm holding up Swords to Plowshares to protect the initiative. And now, like, I've got the initiative started and I'm insulated from, like, a Fury. Table is totally fine. Okay. End of turn, I will go ahead and just swords this creature. We will be going down the left side and hoping to close this game. We will forge the Seasoned Dungeoneer, which puts it outside of range of a Fury beating it. White Plume is really good here as follow-up. So this is going to be an attack for 7. Get to explore. I can go into my graveyard. It's an okay card. My opponent goes to 12. Get to play 1 card here, just kind of due to how my mana works out. I think I just want to White Plume. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I can just play Elite Spellbinder. Just make whatever my opponent's out is more awkward, or make their Fable more awkward. Oh, their hand sucks. Go to Exile, Chromox. So they get to loot through their lands. They only looted through one of them. Fury's not good enough here. This booty is thick. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So now we get to play Absolute Law again. What did we do? I think I went these out, and I went down on Ephemerates to board in these cards when on the draw, which is perfectly reasonable. I think I'm good with this. This one's an auto mulligan for me. We just don't have the appropriate colors of mana, or enough mana. The second hand is perfectly fine. Might throw back Once Upon a Time, despite how good that card is, because I'm pretty comfortable with most of the stuff that I've got here. Turn 1 Blood Moon is very good against me, though, if I don't keep the Once Upon a Time to look for a basic land if I get mooned on turn 1. Palace on 1 is fine. Well, if I want to play this now, playing this now helps me inform my land drop choice. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Basic Plains or another Seasoned Dungeoneer. I don't really need more than 1 basic this game. I think I'm just going to take another Seasoned Dungeoneer so that I can pitch the first one to Solitude in response to a threat from my opponent here. Let's play this land drop and call it a turn. My opponent's now in this situation where they probably lose their City of Traders this turn to play a creature. And I Solitude that creature and hopefully pull ahead with Seasoned Dungeoneer 1 more turn away from now. And if they spend more resources to moon or something like that, I feel like that favors me. Alright, so they Lightning Bolt themselves. Lose City. Caves of Chaos Adventurer is really good. Okay. That gives my opponent another basic to help make up for the fact that we just lost a City of Traders. That was the perfect card. My opponent really needed something like that there. Yeah, this is great. Let's fetch my basic plains. Play Ancient Tomb. Take the initiative myself. I believe just getting the other basic plains here so that I can play Solitude through a Blood Moon, if that's something that matters. And I'm going to wait to Solitude my opponent's Caves of Chaos Adventurer until after they go to combat, I think. Or maybe beginning of combat, I'll do it so that they don't get the Caves of Chaos Adventurer attack trigger. Yeah, that's probably the correct timing there. And I just play my own Seasoned Dungeoneer and ride initiative cards to victory. Okay, Ancient Tomb is fantastic here. My opponent is kind of getting resources back. And Solituding the trample creature is just correct here. Solitude, pitch a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Opponent gains a lot of life here, but the game is not about life. This game is about who has the initiative. Or I guess just hoping to dodge Fury. Even if that happens, it's not that bad for me. Well, cool. Given that my opponent did not have Fury, we'll go ahead and go to the Forge. Elite Spellbinder's not bad. I think Seasoned Dungeoneer is just better, though. I get to explore this turn. Let's play that. I could Arena here and get rid of this token. I'm thinking about that for a second. Or no, sorry, Goad forces attack. But so I will go ahead and just trap. I mean, I can force it to attack into Seasoned Dungeoneer, but like it's already just dead if that happens. So let's explore. I don't think I want this. Like, it's selection, which is cool, but I think I'm all about speed right now. Opponent goes to 9. I'm threatening Throne of the Dead 3 in the not-too-distant future. Untap that. The Fable lets my opponent kind of fix their hand. And they needed to do that. That's Chalice and Trinisphere down. The Goblin token attacks. I believe I block with Seasoned Dungeoneer. Because if I block here and then my opponent casts a Fury, they could kill this. And I don't really want that to happen. Okay, my opponent is attacking. And again, for the Fury-based reasons that I just talked about, I go ahead and make my block with this creature. Alright, so it's dead. Alright, my opponent does go to 5 mana for the Fury, so they can kill Seasoned Dungeoneer, but not White Plume Adventurer. And now I get to draw a bonus card with Archives. Swords to Plowshares is not great because of Chalice. I think I start this turn off with a Once Upon a Time off Ancient Tomb. Well, I could start with it off Plains, right? Because I don't really need a white card right now. Yeah, I could start it off Plains and Horizon Canopy while still playing Elite Spellbinder afterwards. If I would like, I will probably take Seasoned Dungeoneer, make things better next turn. Play Elite Spellbinder, take a look at that hand, and make things a little bit more awkward for my opponent. Alright, there's a Chalice in exile. Do I want to trade White Plume Adventurer for Fury? Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Because I just play Seasoned Dungeoneer next turn, and then probably have lethal. Protection from creatures plus Explore is strong. And having multiple blockers back is nice for if my opponent plays something like a Goblin Rebelmaster. Yep, lands fine. Alright, so my opponent has been thrown on the defensive, which means that I get to Throne of the Dead 3 here. Which didn't really get anything impressive. I'll, I guess, take a Collector Oof. God, Absolute Law fucking slaps. I think that's better than playing Seasoned Dungeoneer, honestly. Oh wait, can I do both? I still have a basic forest in my deck, so play Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yeah, I can do both. Dungeoneer. Take the initiative. Grab a basic forest. Play a basic forest. Play Absolute Law. Holy fuck, Absolute Law is so good here. Get in there. Explore with White Plume. Get a Boseiju, which can answer that Chalice if I need it to. Oh my god, Absolute Law. MVP of this league. Holy crap. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and they've got some really fun things in the works. In addition to being one of the premier decklist sites out there, they are also going to become a social media website as well. Now, this isn't going to replace Twitter, and this is still something that's in development. It's not finished, there's no timeline for when exactly this is going to be released, but at some point, you'll be able to use Moxfield as a place to talk about Magic the Gathering. This is a mock-up, and keep an eye on Moxfield. They're doing big things. Okay, round 3, we're 2-0, haven't dropped a game yet, and is absolutely a keep. We have a turn 2 White Plume Adventurer, and multiple Ephemerates if we want to get cute after that. And we probably do want to get cute after that. Interestingly, the Ephemerate will probably change our play pattern for this game from normal. I wrote a big long article for my Patreon about, like, among other things, how Ephemerate interacts with these initiative creatures in terms of, like, sequencing. Alright, my opponent has kept on 7. I like my odds if they're playing something fair. And we have basically nothing if they're playing a combo deck, but we're here to beat the fair decks more than anything else. Deck's very fun. I enjoy this a lot. It's like playing Maverick at 2022 power level. Alright, my opponent is moving very slowly here. I don't know if they're double queuing or if they had a very difficult decision to make there or what. Regardless, I've got one play here. I don't think after seeing Polluted Delta, I can wait to do something like play around a daze. I think I've just got to go in case we're playing against something like Doomsday. I need to just present as much damage as I can, as quickly as I can. Otherwise, Doomsday past the turn lines are more viable. We're seeing an end of turn fetch. Could be Brainstorm, could be Entomb. Fuck, it's Entomb. Alright. Do I have ley lines? Do have ley lines. So, oh, this is actually super relevant. I get to untap my Noble Hierarch here, and then I can either Swords to Plowshares or Ephemerate immediately. Yes. I have your Grizzlebrand. Do I Swords immediately and force my opponent's decision to draw the second 7 to right now? Or do I just want to Ephemerate? Advanced to Trap? If my opponent draws another 7, they die to Trap. I believe not Forging is correct. And this Noble Hierarch untap with White Plume Adventurer is so relevant in these faster matchups. Fuck yeah, let's go. Yeah, they are at 5. I will Ephemerate White Plume Adventurer and then trap on my upkeep. I don't think I show them this yet, though. Yeah, the artifact mana is fine. Archon of Cruelty could gain them 3 life. Unmask, target me. I don't think I respond to that. I have 2 Ephemerates. They took a Swords. Looting is fine. There is a Sarah's Emissary and an Archon of Cruelty. Uh-huh. They have to pick Archon or they die. Okay, they did pick Archon. Now we try to leave this game in the hands of the initiative. Still think I go towards Forge. And if I end up kind of removing these counters in a minute. I will sacrifice the Noble Hierarch. I will discard a Noble Hierarch, I think. Ooh, opponent going to 1 now. Oh, fuck, they're still going. Alright. Uh-huh. Another Archon. Okay. Wait, my opponent's dead on board to fucking trap by taking this line. Yeah, like I sacrifice this, I'll discard the Ephemerate. They are at 4, trap deals them 5. No. No. Respectfully, that's some bullshit. For great justice, let me draw White Plume Adventurer. This creature you control, not you own. Solitude. Good line, opponent. Good line. That was cool. Alright. Leyline of the Void comes in. Mindbreak Trap and Deafening Silence are both playable, as is Aven Mind Sensor. I'm just going to kind of take a look at my cards and figure out what I want to do here. Ellywick is too slow for this matchup. It's harder from there. Ephemerates are awkward, as we saw that game, but can be strong. I think I'm just bringing in stronger cards, though. Even Mind Sensor might be too slow. On the play, I might not need Mindbreak Trap. I'm going to go Ephemerate out for Deafening Silences and not play Mindbreak Trap when I'm on the play. When I'm on the draw, I'll probably, like, cut some slow... Or, I need more cuts still. Oh, I cut 5, but I brought in 7. Okay. Maybe I go down on Swords to Plowshares. I don't super want to remove creatures once they're in play. I'd prefer to stop them from getting into play in the first place. This is an auto mulligan. How much do I believe in the top of the deck? I don't know that I believe in the top of the deck this much. Like, this is just a leyline with effectively no other cards available. I think I would rather go to 5. This is the best hand so far. We'll put back Seasoned Dungeoneer, I think. and 1 white Plume Adventurer. I am very specifically looking to hit Ancient Tomb off of Once Upon a Time here. I will accept any land, but Ancient Tomb is the winner. I think I have to take the land over the Endurance here. So let's play out that land and pass the turn. Not show my opponent another card. Still hoping to spike Ancient Tomb next turn, so that I can Anointed Peacekeeper and keep a Serenity from getting into play, unless my opponent has Lotus Petal. But I think my opponent would kind of guess that I am a Leyline deck, so I'm going to assume that Serenity and other similar effects are already in the deck here. Oh, we're going now on something. Dauthi Voidwalker. I guess that's their anti-initiative tech. Sure. The Entomb is just going to take a bad card out of their deck. Potentially just another Entomb. Indeed, another Entomb. Given that I have a bunch of non-Ancient Tomb cards on the bottom of my library currently, I'm not going to fetch to thin. Okay. This is not the end of the world here. Like, my hand probably races Dauthi Voidwalker most of the time. But the downside of this situation is that if my opponent has a Serenity, they can play it this turn before I can keep it from coming into play via Anointed Peacekeeper. I'm at 17. Looting is a-okay with me. I don't know that I would beat looting into another Dauthi Voidwalker, though. Okay, that's all opponents got. I don't want to play an initiative card right now, I don't think. I think I want to lead on Anointed Peacekeeper instead. I think I grab my other basic here, in case my opponent has access to a Blood Moon. It wouldn't literally be Blood Moon, it would probably be Magus of the Moon. Echoing Truth and Grizzlebrand. I probably name the Echoing Truth here, so that I'm better at playing a fair game. Although naming Lotus Petal is kind of a kick in the teeth in terms of acceleration. Let's just name Echoing Truth. You could also name Dauthi Voidwalker here, but I don't really have anything interesting in my exile zone right now, and I don't really plan on putting anything there other than basic lands. This is not trading with my creatures in combat. Yep. I'll go to 13 here. Seasoned Dungeoneer is fantastic. So let's fetch. Fine, grabbing another basic. Throw this into play. Take the last basic out of my hand. Back in for 4. I do get to explore, drawing an Ancient Tomb. Get my opponent to 16. And this should be enough pressure that I don't really have too much to worry about. Grief targeting me, taking a white Plume, reanimating that might put me in a weird position. I'm not going to do the mental math on that until it actually happens. But my opponent is probably on a 2-turn clock here. Okay, there is the Unmask. Oh, because of their Dauthi Voidwalker, it goes to exile, so they can't actually reanimate it. They can sacrifice their Dauthi Voidwalker to take the initiative, but then I just take it right back and have, like, dominance in combat. So there's that. Alright, I go to 9. They have failed to find a basic land. Such avarice. I don't need to play Noble Hierarch pre-combat for any reason, because I am going to attack with both of these. Let's attack. Do this on my Vigilant creature. That can go into my graveyard at this point. Alright, I take the initiative back. Entering into the Undercity. We'll select Forge. I will go ahead and continue to stack my counters up here. There's 6 counters. Play out a Noble Hierarch. Play out another land. And I presumably have lethal through blockers next turn. Yeah, good stuff. This is good tech. I like this. I've been talking with Michael Levine about, like, Dauthi Voidwalker in mono black specifically as, like, a way to take the initiative back, and he, as of, like, my time of recording, tweeted just a couple of minutes ago, like, Dauthi Voidwalker greater than initiative, so hopefully that means his Eternal Weekend is going well. Okay. Given that I have now seen Dauthi Voidwalker as tech, I'm a little bit more interested in Swords to Plowshares, and I'm slightly more interested in Mindbreak Trap when on the draw. On the draw, some of the cards like Elite Spellbinder lose a little bit of oomph. Having more Swords to Plowshares is also just good for if my opponent reanimates my own creatures. So I'm comfortable with that. Mindbreak Trap helps with some of the Dark Ritual, Entomb, Reanimate situations. I think I'm just going to drop the full playset of Elite Spellbinders on the draw. I think I won that game on like a mold of 5 too. Leyline, Endurance, and Once Upon a Time? Absolutely. So let's start with a Leyline and see where this goes. My opponent absolutely can just like play a Serenity on turn 1. Unmask, target me. Do I play Once Upon a Time in response? I believe the answer is no. I've taken an Endurance. I don't think I want to use 2 cards here to take out an Endurance. Like I can just beat a 3/4 creature by playing my own 3/4 creature. I think I'm just going to call that fine. In case I draw some, or find a Noble Hierarch, I'm going to go ahead and cast this turn. A Solitude is an okay pickup. I think that's better than lands here. I don't think I need to be thinking about fetching immediately here. Let's just play a Razorverge Thicket and pass the turn. Again, fine taking 3 hits off Solitude if I need to. Like, it's when I start losing the Endurance as well to, like, Thoughtseize effects, or my opponent starts backing it up with a Dauthi Voidwalker that things get scary. So now things are getting scary. Alright, I found a white card. So I can remove one of these. I probably remove the Dauthi Voidwalker here. Shadow is a pain. I suppose I can do some fetching first. Again, to randomly play around Magus of the Moon, even though I'm not expecting my opponent to have it. I think I get basics. I don't know, I need green for Endurance and white for Solitude. Maybe that means Savannah is correct this time. 2 duels already. Now let's still get the basic planes. Cast a Once Upon a Time. Pick up a white Plume. Solitude. Pitch Peacekeeper. I think I let this go to my graveyard. Dunk Voidwalker. I'm unsure about letting it go to my graveyard. Like, it gives my opponent a reanimation target, but gives me insulation versus an Exhume in the future if Leyline is destroyed, which could be relevant. Don't have enough reps in this specific matchup to know the answer to what I'm supposed to do there. Maybe I'm supposed to just let it go to exile. Like, if they have another Dauthi Voidwalker, leaving a Solitude in exile with a Void counter on it is super awkward. Okay, so I will just play my own Endurance on my opponent's turn, probably taking out my Solitude. Doing things in this roundabout way gets it back into my deck, which is cool. So now it's time to play the game of Endurances stare at each other. And now that I have a creature in play, let's throw that Solitude back in my deck. Go ahead and block. 3/4s bounce off each other. Looting is fine. Grief into Reanimate, I guess, is what we're scared of. Show and Tell is a backup plan. Okay, there's an Unmask. That takes my white Plume. That's very good. No immediate Reanimate, which is nice. Swords is strong. I don't think I crack this land immediately. I think I crack it on my opponent's end step. Let's crash in with an Endurance. Opponent goes to 16. I'm not sure if I take more damage from an Endurance or if I just swords it immediately. White Plume Adventurer is definitely scarier. I think I take it out now, though. Let's do that. Nice. At end step, let's go ahead and draw a card off of this. Seasoned Dungeoneer is great if I make a land drop. I didn't, but at this point, my opponent is going to be pretty far behind. We probably are going to need multiple pieces of interaction here. I don't think it matters much. Let's pick up a forest, just so if Magus of the Moon happens, I do have all my colors. The untap Endurance. And I think even if my opponent reanimates one of my creatures at this point, I've got enough on board that I'm just good. We're going to Forge. I think I will Forge the White Plume here. I don't think I play Seasoned Dungeoneer. I think I just play Deafening Silence. Although, if I play Seasoned Dungeoneer, that's a lot of damage. A whole lot of damage. It makes Reanimate no longer really a thing, because this just gets me to Trap immediately. Yeah, Trap, drain you for 5, putting you to 11. I attack for either 8 or 9 of that. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. GG's. I believe we are now 3-0, right? We're 3-0. Alright, we're 3-0. I've kept my opening hand. It gets to play a turn 2 White Plume Adventurer if things go my way, and I have a Solitude and Ephemerate to do other cute things as well. Let's figure out what my opponent is up to. I would really love to not lose Birds of Paradise here. Always bolt the bird. Okay, I'll need a little help from the top of the deck now to make my third land drop, and Wasteland can be very good against me here. Alright. I could end up just playing a Solitude and Ephemerating it to keep it in play. I don't know how excited I am doing that against what is almost certainly Blue-Red Delver. Because, like, there's just going to be more lightning bolts. It's an incredibly awkward play versus counterspells. So while I might do that if my opponent presents a creature, if they don't present a creature, I'm just going to take a natural draw. Alright, we're chilling. But we're chilling in a situation where I have very good endgame inevitability here. If I do get to that point. That's no shuffle. We've dodged Wasteland. Again, I'm just going to keep chilling. We'll try to hit a land drop naturally. Alright, I've succeeded. Let's see if we get stifled. Did not get stifled. I'm just going to pick up Savannah this time, given that I'm already vulnerable to Wasteland. See if I get punished by Price of Progress later. Do I want to play Elite Spellbinder first? I've already made my land drop for this turn. Yeah, maybe this becomes the bait for right now. I try to play an initiative creature with 1 more mana up next turn. Is totally fine. I have a very high density of good cards in hand right now. One has picked up a Steam Vents, and then playing a Ponder. I wonder if it's worth shocking there. I think you're probably supposed to play the Ponder first before making that decision, though. I think that's a small misstep on my opponent's end. Ancient Tomb. That is interesting. I'd probably go ahead and play that. And I believe it is worth shocking myself for if this does resolve. I don't know that it is. Oh shit, it is? Oh buddy. I will get a basic Plains here. I can now immediately Ephemerate this. To set a stop in my upkeep. I can immediately Ephemerate this to turn it into a 5/5 so it doesn't die to removal. I think I am very on board with that. Maybe me being a little greedy here. Oh yeah. So we'll forge it up. I now have a 5/5. And in my upkeep, in response to the Ephemerate trigger, I can just cast a Solitude and Ephemerate that if I would like, or just say no to Ephemerate. EI is fine. Dragon Rage Channeler. Wasteland's a good pickup, as is Dragon Rage Channeler. Petty Theft on White Plume Adventurer. Sure. That's all fine. Little unsure how to play this turn. Definitely go to Trap. Drain my opponent for 5. I don't think I'm going to cast Solitude. And I just want to play double White Plume in this turn cycle. Let's just ignore the back half of Ephemerate there. Oh, yeah. I think I Solitude, pitching a White Plume, and then play 2 White Plumes. The disgusting amount of value. So, like, if my opponent forces this, I then get to attempt to just play 2 initiative cards in this turn cycle and immediately get to Throne of the Dead 3. At which point I probably have enough onboard power. My opponent is not going to beat me. Now, Force of Will into Daze specifically here could be pretty rough. Alright. That's a Force of Will pitching a Daze, in which case I'm comfortable playing the second one. That would be like the 3rd Daze of the game. I'm not going to play around that this early. Alright, so I've drawn my card for Archives. I have a Solitude to help hold the initiative, and I'm not expecting a haste card from my opponent. So I feel highly, highly, highly favored here. So I guess my opponent could wasteland me off the Ancient Tomb, and then I miss playing Solitude some portion of the time. The thing. Okay, they are going to wasteland me. Alright, let's Throne of the Dead 3. Solitude. Yeah, I think I do that. That is a giant lifelinker. So we'll exile Murktide Regent, and we have a 6/5 lifelinker in play. Oh yeah, that is gross. This deck feels smooth, folks. Alright, so Absolute Law is definitely coming in, and Leyline of the Void is playable. Aven Mind Sensor is also playable. We haven't really gotten the, like, super slow controlling matchups where Ellywick is just going to dominate. I think that's supposed to get boarded out here. So I think Ellywick becomes Absolute Law as a starting point. And then what do? I need to board in 4 cards if I want to play Ley Lines, which I think I do. Ephemerate is my one card that is not singularly good. I should probably board that out, despite the fact that it turboing me through a dungeon was very critical to my success in this game. I think I'm okay with cutting that, especially on the draw, where I'm going to have trouble holding up the mana for that plus the card that I want to play in this turn. And then I will probably cut one 3-drop creature. Elite Spellbinder's flying is so much more relevant in this matchup than normal, so I will probably cut an Anointed Peacekeeper over that, even though I think Anointed Peacekeeper is generally the better card. Let's call that good. I don't think I want to board an Aven Mind Sensor or anything like that. This is a medium-looking opening hand that is probably just good enough to keep, with multiple Endurances, a starting removal spell, and a way to find another land. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. And my opponent leads on a Delver. That is fine. I have picked up another land. Let's play a Dazable Once Upon a Time here. No bites from my opponent. All 3 of these cards are totally reasonable takes here. I think I just want Noble Hierarch. Let's lead on Forest and Noble Hierarch, and kind of force my opponent to use some mana dealing with the Hierarch or whatever. I'm willing to take a hit or 2 from Delver before I remove it. Like, I have Endurance, so, like, removing that is not a top priority or anything. Sure. What's my opponent? Okay, it's Lightning Bolt plus, like, a Ponder or something then. Sure. Don't know that sequencing there was ideal. No, it's fine. They probably want to set it up to flip the Delver rather than take the best card with Ponder. That's reasonable. So now I get to attempt to Swords to Plowshares a Delver. And after that, I can attempt to clear the graveyard so Murktide Regent doesn't happen. Is going fine. Ooh, another Noble Hierarch is a very good draw. So attempt Swords on Delver. I assume is just resolving, and play Noble Hierarch. Next turn I have Endurance around Days, and then we can start talking about Seasoned Dungeoneer. Murktide Regent hitting play this turn specifically would be a bit of a kick in the teeth. After that, I feel pretty good that I can handle it. Force of Will on my Endurance would be annoying for me. Does become a 3/3. No shuffle with the Ponder. Wasteland's very good here. It means that Daze is going to be online for my 3-drop. But I believe I am obligated to play the 3-drop this turn. I just have to clear that graveyard. I still think Endurance is better than that. I'm not going to go so deep as to play Anointed Peacekeeper into Pitchcast Endurance here. Alright. Graveyard's clear. I'm not going to let my opponent untap before doing this and try to, like, surprise this creature in combat or anything, because of how detrimental it would be for my opponent to just, like, brainstorm into a Force of Will. Ooh, are they just passing the turn? Oh no. Okay, they're just going to second main for some random reason. Okay, another Wasteland's good for my opponent. I'm ahead on board, though. It's not like that's ideal. Oh, I see. No, if my opponent was planning on brainstorming multiple times, it makes sense that they go to main too. In case they spike both times on hits with Dragon Rage Channeler and hit, like, Bobble plus creature. I take it back. That was a good play from my opponent. Notably, I don't really have white mana as of right now. Okay, I have white mana. I believe I just clear the graveyard again. So let's attempt Endurance again. My opponent has the Daze this time. I have junked a Mystic Sanctuary. That's fine. There's 3 card types in graveyard. I'm fine trading 3 damage for 3 damage here, I think. Or I guess it's 4 damage for 3 damage because of Exalted. Opponent goes to 16. I'm definitely a little worried about a Murktide Regent. I think my opponent has one because like they were willing to put one into their graveyard, and it's one of their best cards. And that's why I was aggressively playing the Endurances, is to try to keep this very thing from happening. That's not really fine. Okay, I've picked up another Noble Hierarch. It's probably better than playing Anointed Peacekeeper, despite the fact that it doesn't really use my mana efficiently. I've just got to get to more mana so that I can hardcast, or well, maybe not hardcasting a Solitude. Probably a bad example. So this would be attacking as a 5-power attacker, which is not trading with Murktide Regent. That'll be a turn for me. And now I think my opponent kills me in 3 turns with Murktide Regent most of the time. I would love, love, love to be wrong, but I'm super scared of this situation. Land, creature, and instance in graveyard now. Can I actually play Seasoned Dungeoneer? It feels to me like if I play that card, I end up losing to Trap 3 or 4 turns down the line, one way or another. So I think I'm actually going to just Once Upon a Time here and try to find a Solitude that I can pitch cast. That is a Solitude that I can pitch cast. I am fine with pitching Anointed Peacekeeper to attempt this. Ugh. Okay. So Endurance needs to hold back, so Dragon Rage Channeler can't get in here, but I can attack with a Noble Hierarch and get a couple of points of damage. Murktide Regent backed by Force of Will beats most things. Oh, am I dead right now? No, I'm not dead right now, but I'm real close to dead right now. Second Murktide Regent gets to grow the first, because that's fair. I'm just gonna eat the 8 here. I'm having a hard time imagining the world where I win. Well, this is a world where I'm not dead. I can Swords to Plowshare is the big one. Jump block the small one. Messed up that turn. Supposed to play Seasoned Dungeoneer, fetch the other basic planes from my deck. Do that. Chump block. I don't know, maybe that's not true. Very tough to play Seasoned Dungeoneer right now and introduce the initiative into the game when I'm on the defensive. Ugh. Yeah. I am comfortable conceding to that. That's fine. That takes away my mana. I am fine resubmitting as is. I'm still okay with the ley lines being in my deck. If they are in my opener, it invalidates Murktide Regent, which is the best card in the matchup against me. This hand is mana light, but begins with a ley line. I'm going to say that those two things even themselves out, and I won't get wastelanded in the first turn cycle. I think I will play around a Stifle by fetching a basic right now. Stifle is not currently popular in Blue-Red Delver, but it's like such a reasonable thing to play against initiative cards that I'm sort of always keeping it on my mind. Right. Anointed Peacekeeper is not the draw that I am looking for. I am looking for lands. I am looking for Noble Hierarchs. Right, yeah, I lose Razorverge Thicket here. That's annoying. Again, though, my opponent's aggression has really come to a halt here. I have a lot of time to draw out of this. I do not have a lot of time to draw out of this. This is bad. Delver is the only threat in the deck, which is still, well, the only normal threat that's like always around that's still in the deck that is a real threat through Leyline of the Void, and my opponent blind flipped it. I'm not dead yet, but things are looking bad. Oh fuck, now I'm dead. I am absolutely not beating that anymore, I don't think. Like, the land drop helps, but it's a little tough to introduce the initiative when I'm... Oh god, and the lightning bolt? Okay, fine, GG's. Okay, I'm going to keep this hand. This is a bad hand, but I'm playing against Hello Newton, who is almost certainly playing elves, and keeping a hand that just has effectively 3 removal spells in it is probably a-okay here. Okay, so do I want to source the Plowshares Llanowar Elves? Or do I just want to wait a turn and Solitude it and one other creature immediately? I don't think I need to be in a rush to do this Solitude thing this game. It's going to be good whenever I do it. So let's fetch a land out of the deck here, and it can be Savannah, I think. And just take out the elf immediately. See what my opponent can do. Alright, not unexpected. Am I playing White Plume immediately? Probably. Let's go ahead and do that. I may end up ephemerating that. Take another planes out of my deck here. I don't think I want to just immediately Solitude this, given the relatively insane amount of value that I could pick up from my cards. Snuff out. Newton, please. I'm not giving you the initiative. But this is not how I wanted this to look. I'll take out that creature. I do need the top of my deck to be kind to me. We'll be going down the right side here. Other Fiend Artisan and Dryad Arbor. The second creature is annoying here. Let's Lost Well to scry 2. Heath is a no. I can't play Solitude this turn. I can play Solitude next turn, and it'll be pretty good. I'd rather play something that impacts the board immediately this turn, though, I think. Oh, Endurance is very strong. Let's play a Thicket and pass. If my opponent swings in both creatures here. Does. I'll go ahead and play my Endurance. I think I want to shuffle all of these back into my deck. Target myself here. I'm going to take out the Fiend Artisan in combat here. Dryad Arbor connects, so we swap control of the initiative. Alright, and then there's a land drop. My opponent may have another Dryad Arbor here. Let's find out. Crash in. No immediate Dryad Arbor. I don't really need to go to stash, but it's not like goading a Dryad Arbor is fantastic, so I will go ahead and just go to stash anyway. And let's get this out of the way in this turn cycle. Alright, we are seeing an end of turn fetch. It is another Dryad Arbor. So I guess the focus of this game is just trading the initiative back and forth. Making it so that one person doesn't dominate this. I need a little bit something more here than what I've got. I'm kind of in the unfortunate situation where my opponent got to go down the left side, which is more aggressive, and I was forced down the right side. Alright, so it does seem kind of like we're both running on fumes here. Hierarch's a Hierarch. Like, I'll accept the bonus points of damage here. So I get in for 4. Opponent goes to 9. I get a 4-1 with Menace. I can deploy a land drop and call it a turn. Ooh, my opponent has an Endurance. In one way or another, this game is going to be pretty tight. I wonder if I'm supposed to just block with Noble Hierarch, just keep my opponent from getting the initiative, rather than trade my Menace Skeleton with Endurance. I think I like the chump block. The Menace Skeleton is a 2-turn clock that's very difficult for my opponent to block. I've used up 2 of their Fiend Artisans already. Very unsure about this block. I think I'm going to trade. I feel like with my Throne of the Dead 3, I can probably hold the initiative for another turn or 2. I just have to be aware that I'm effectively at 7 life. There is a Fiend Artisan. Sure. Finding a Solitude off Throne of the Dead 3 here would be pretty hype. Okay, not so much with the choices, eh? Looking at 10 and only finding 1 creature is pretty rough. I get to pull a forest out of my deck before my draw. Let's do pre-combat Once Upon a Time. I am wow. Top cards here have not been great. Want to take that last card from my opponent's hand? Get a flyer? What do I want to make? I probably want to make Fiend Artisan harder to actually cast or activate. Get all the information I can before committing to attacks. Alright, opponent's last card is a snow-covered forest. And Fiend Artisan here to make his activated ability cost more. Am I fine with a 4/5 attacker? Yes. Especially since it will untap. There's my Exalted Trigger. Alright, my opponent wisely just kind of takes that damage. Now I get to untap the Endurance. Firewood Symbiote. Opponent has no elves currently in their elf deck. Let's see what this gets. Wouldn't be surprised if my opponent has some crazy tech here. Okay, they've just got a blocker. I'm going to forge. Probably forge my Vigilant creature here. Though I could just forge Noble Hierarch and just have the greatest number of possible attackers. Maybe that makes more sense. I don't know. Saving this from Dryad Arbor is relevant. Go ahead and put it on the Anointed Peacekeeper. Alright, I will play Horizon Canopy and immediately crack it. Any initiative card is lethal here. The Savannah. 5, 8, 9, 10 damage. I think I'm going for the Throat here. I think these two attack my opponent as they are both lethal. Not sure that I do any more attacks than just that. This just leaves me with effectively 3 creatures held back, as White Plume can untap, or 4 creatures held back. White Plume can untap itself. And if I hold the initiative till next turn, my opponent just dies. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Those are the expected blocks here. I'll call that a turn. Alright, White Plume will untap itself. Okay, that's fine. That's also fine. Okay, and there's the concession. Enough out. I don't think I have many cards for this matchup here. I'll probably play Aven Mind Sensor to mess around with Fiend Artisan nonsense. And not much more than that. Is this an Ellywick matchup? Like, is this matchup on average grindy enough that I can realistically keep activating that? Grindy enough that I want Ephemerates for sure. Like, is Ellywick better than Elite Spellbinder? Elite Spellbinder does fly. Aven Mind Sensor. I'm going to say Ellywick is too slow on the draw. And if we go to a game 3 scenario, I will consider playing it on the play. I'm gonna go no. Like, I know Aven Mind Sensor is a card I specifically brought in for the matchup, but I don't think it's this good. This hand is incredibly strong. Try to use Once Upon a Time to find an initiative card. Swords to Plowshares buys me some initial time. And I believe Anointed Peacekeeper is going to be the better card here for the beginning of this game. Alright, sure. Once Upon a Time is fine. Finding a Misty. And there's a Dryad Arbor. I will probably still Swords to Plowshares that for the sake of slowing my opponent down. But let's see what the Once Upon a Time finds before I formalize that decision. I probably want White Plume here over, like, Solitude. And then let's just drop Thicket and slow my opponent down. I would like a 2-mana play next turn or an Ancient Tomb if I can kind of ask for what I'm looking for here. Bricked Proctor. Newton, you've gone deep. Birds of Paradise. Sure. Let's play Heath and a bird this turn. I can introduce the initiative into the game when I am on 5 mana if I feel like that's something that I want to do. Reclaimer is fine. That is very good here. Fiend Artisan is scary. Brick Proctor also has flying, so it's evasive. I imagine that's just a 1-of in my opponent's deck list as a Fiend Artisan tutor target. Could be wrong, though. This is an as, not a when, notably. So I can still go ahead and deploy this creature and get its effect Natural Order. Newton. Stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. More than that with Gaia's Cradle, so I can't stop the Natural Order. I'll name Fiend Artisan. Although, the Natural Order is a little weird with Strict Proctor around. Am I going to see like a Progenitus here as a Natural Order target? There's a land drop. Activate Reclaimer. Find Dryad Arbor. Sacrifice Dryad Arbor to Natural Order. Sacrifice a Reclaimer to natural order. Okay, it is Progenitus, which I don't really see myself beating here. Protection from everything is pretty brutal. I'll go ahead and concede the game there. And we'll go to a game 3 where I'm on the play. So if my opponent is on natural order for Progenitus, Spellbinder does definitely matter. And is probably better than Ellywick. Although I'm sad that like I literally never drew this card throughout the entire league. Is that going to stop that card from being in the thumbnail? No. No, it's not. Gamer's got a game. This is a weird opener. Very bad against Snuff Out. I think I would rather just mulligan this and try to find a safer hand. I'll keep it. I pitch Horizon Canopy here. I think the individual points of life are going to matter a lot in this matchup. And I already have an Ancient Tomb. I don't think I want to take additional damage here. Let's cast this. I have completely whiffed on initiative creatures again. Very cool. Once Upon a Time. Very cool. I think I take Solitude and settle in for a longer game. Just cast Once Upon a Time next turn. Alright. I went from having like such confidence in this hand to thinking this hand is close to unplayable, which is super unfortunate. Yep, that's fine. Very good. Shepherd's fine. Dungeoneer is very good. Play Savannah and pass all Once Upon a Time on my opponent's turn. Potentially try to find a white card for Solitude, or otherwise just another initiative card. We're hoping that my opponent doesn't naturally have Strict Proctor in hand right now. Newton, this is some shit. This is some shit. I'm going to ask him how many Strict Proctors are in the deck when I am dead on board. I go to 19. End of turn, Once Upon a Time. Probably take Mind Sensor here. It kind of sucks that I'm telegraphing it ahead of time. That feels like the card. I think I'm just gonna Sorcery Speed play out Aven Mind Sensor. I could also just like pay 2 mana for Solitude on Strict Proctor in this turn cycle and then play Seasoned Dungeoneer next turn. I don't think I need to rush that. Let's play this out at Sorcery Speed, so there's no shenanigans, and call it a turn. Note that Strict Proctor is good in some ways for the evoke side of Solitude, so like there is that. Second Snuff Out. Newton. Alright. Alright. I am dead to this Progenitus even if I do other things. Alright, Newton is on 3 Strict Proctors, so it was not a just random spike of the one of like I suspected it might be. That makes me feel slightly better. Okay, so overall we ended up with a 3-2 in this league, but this is a 3-2 that I feel very, very good about. In the final round, like my opponent was very, very, very clearly testing something that was metagamed very strongly versus initiative decks, so I don't feel bad losing to an opponent who is trying that hard. Generally speaking, I like what I see here. This shell felt very powerful. I can't really comment on this card. Like, I can say that I boarded it out in most of my rounds, but like, had I gotten paired against some sort of like Bant control deck or like a 4-color control deck, I absolutely would have wanted this in. Would have been reasonable in an initiative mirror. So the big question is like, is what this is doing better than what either the mono white version or the red white version does? And to that, I'm not sure. Once Upon a Time improves opening hands, but when you keep a hand based on a Once Upon a Time and you whiff, as we saw multiple times at the tail end of this league, like it is real feel bad, and your hand kind of becomes unplayable. So it's kind of like keeping a like Street Wraith opening hand where you don't know what your last card is, despite some degree of selection. Ephemerate did a couple things throughout this league, and when it did something, it was important, but this was also a card that I commonly just kind of threw to the side. Overall, I like this deck. I'm not sure that it's better than other options, but absolute law fucks. That's the conclusion of this league. Like, getting paired against, like, Delver and Red Prison, where just having this card in my sideboard and drawing it means that I basically instantly won the game on the spot was really good. I would consider playing that card in mono white initiative if you feel like you have the slots for it. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.